Hello, Scream Demons, and welcome to the Screams from the Basement podcast with Sam and Casey.
This is a horror podcast in which two horror fans discuss all things horror, including news, recent watches, horror collectibles, and more.
I am one of your spooky co-hosts. I am Casey.
And I am Sam the Damned.
And let's
get
let's get screaming. Let's get screaming. Woo! Sam, we are back in the basement. The
basement boys are back.
Basement boys are back. All right. Just like Backstreet's back. The basement's back. Sam, what's going on? We're fully fledged into spooky season. This is Halloween week as we are recording this. We're there. We made it.
And we're still fucking around with this nonsense.
We made it. We made it to Halloween. We have some nonsense on this episode because we're talking two spooky season movies that I don't know. Obviously, one of them's a newer movie, but the other one is definitely more of a cult classic. But neither of these get brought up in that conversation of like, hey, these are like your definitive Halloween movies to watch. And
yeah,
I do think they should be brought up in the conversation. But what are those movies we're going to be talking about in today's double feature?
We're going to be talking about a movie that everybody knows I love if they've listened to this podcast. 1988's Pumpkinhead. And the kind of modern day take on Pumpkinhead, I guess, that's set in the 50s.
Yeah.
Dark Harvest from last year.
Yeah.
So, like, one of my favorite Halloween movies and one of my favorite Halloween books turned into a pretty okay movie.
Yeah, a double feature that it just makes sense. It's two pumpkin-headed, pumpkin-type creatures that unleash havoc in these small rural America communities. This double feature makes so much sense. Both incorporate some incredible practical effects for their creature designs as well. And we'll get into that. But Sam, are you ready to jump into Pumpkinhead first?
I'm absolutely ready to jump into Pumpkinhead. I watched this fresh. I watched this today, Casey.
Oh, so it's like a fresh picked pumpkin from that patch.
It really is. It really is. Yeah.
So Pumpkinhead, it came out 1989. There's also 1988. We can get into a little bit of the No. We can get into some of the behind the scenes of this because this is one of those movies that was part of the De Laurentiis studio when that was closing down.
Yep.
And like got shuffled in. Hey, we don't want to push this one. We want to push a different horror movie, another one that you love, Child's Play.
Yeah,
they maybe made the right choice. I don't know, but either way, shouldn't have pushed this movie out into like it was released like wider in like January, February, something like that.
Yeah, this is not a January dumping ground release. This is not that movie.
No, this is prime October release, and that's why we're talking about it in October. So it is directed by Stan Winston, acclaimed special effects artist, in his feature film debut on this film. And yeah, you might know Stan Winston's work from Aliens, The Thing, so many James Cameron movies like Terminator. He previously worked right before this on Predator. So like any great big budget sci-fi horror creature, Stan Winston has had his fingers in it.
Yep. Stan Winston, like you said, directorial debut. And it's exactly the type of movie that you would expect Stan Winston to direct. Like it's a movie that's all about vibe and those incredible
vibe and the
practical effects. Yeah.
Yep. Written by Mark Patrick Carducci and Gary Gerani. And those duo wrote this based on a poem that I will read after I go through the synopsis because we got to talk about the poem. A poem written by Ed Justice, who kind of came up with this poem as like a way to scare his kids. And that was eventually what led to Stan Winston's crew getting on board with this and saying, I want to make this into a movie. Introduction to Pumpkinhead is in that poem there. But the plot of Pumpkinhead is after the death of his young son at the hands of a group of dirt bike riders. What a bunch of pieces of shit these dirt bike riders are. Ed Harley uses dark magic of a witch out in the woods to summon Pumpkinhead, a monster, a demon of vengeance. And Ed Harley is played by the great Lance Hendrickson, who is our lead in this movie. He's incredible. And Sam, I got to ask, Pumpkinhead, do you remember the first time you watched the Pumpkinhead?
No, but I remember the first time I stumbled across what Pumpkinhead was. It was on like a YouTube video of horror. It was like horror creatures, top 10 or whatever, you know? And I remember watching it and seeing Pumpkinhead and seeing the scene where he drops someone from a great height.
Yeah.
And it fucked my shit up real bad. And it took me forever until I was like an adult, until I was brave enough to watch Pumpkinhead. And really, I don't think it's that scary. It's kind of heavy metal as fuck, honestly, in so many ways, while also being hangy twangy, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's very, very rural. But what was the first time you'd ever seen? When was the first time you watched Pumpkinhead?
So again, it was when I was getting deep into horror and going through the franchises.
Okay.
And I think I've talked about this many times. It's like going through the franchises, you make your way through the big three: Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, and then you kind of branch out from there. And this is one of those I branched out and stopped after the first one. One, because like none of the sequels have ever gotten a lot of buzz. I know I've talked about the second one on Doobie Doing at some point on the show, and I like that one. I said it was on par with the first one. I still agree with that. I think it's a fun movie. It does very similar stuff to this, where its focus is on the creature more so than really anyone else in the movie. And this is an interesting movie though, Pumpkinhead. It's one that I immensely respect. I love the character of Pumpkinhead, love the lore, love the overall creature design. I think it's one of the great movie monsters of all time. Just the practicality that Stan Winston and crew could pull off in this movie is truly insane. Insane to see a fully fledged 12-foot monster walking. You know, not any camera tricks, all in camera. It's incredible. I love it. But the movie itself has never been like, yeah, Pumpkinhead for me. It's just one it's missing like one little thing for me. And I can't really put my finger on what's missing. Maybe it's like these teenagers, they suck maybe too much. Maybe it's that we don't have a protagonist really besides Lance Hendrickson. But like any other movie where it's about revenge with a monster type of story, you always kind of have the B protagonist, and it sort of sets up some of these teenagers to be that. They're not really teenagers, but young adults to be that. And I don't know, the movie doesn't fully focus on that. And anyone who's talked about Pumpkinhead, even Stan Winston has talked about it, of you don't go into Pumpkinhead for the story and the characters.
Yeah.
You go in for you go in for Pumpkinhead, that monster character creature, and the practical effects. And it nails that 100%. One of my favorite things, though, is right here in the opening, we get our first look at Pumpkinhead. And the lighting in this movie. Like, we got to talk about that first and foremost, because, like, I think that's, besides the creature effects, it's the best part of the movie. Pumpkinhead might be the best lit monster of all time.
Oh, absolutely. The way that he is lit is always, I mean, especially in these like opening scenes, like you get glimpses of him, but you don't get the full shot until later.
Yeah.
And just in the way that they light and frame him and obscure him, you get like glimpses at the power of him and just the general vibe. And then when you finally see him, he's just lit up in all his glory with like the backlighting and everything. Like it's Jaws level of like, we're going to keep it from you until it's time to show you and like wow you. And that's if, you know, Jaws showed the shark and then was all about the shark for the last like half hour of the movie. But yeah.
if the shark actually worked.
Yeah, it's Jaws if the shark actually worked, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the movie opens with him just completely backlit, and all you see is like this silhouette of Pumpkinhead as he's like picking this guy up to kill him.
Yeah.
And that's where Lance Hendrickson's character, Ed Harley, who sees this as a child and knows, oh, there's a monster out in these woods. Yeah. All those years later, 40 years later, whatever, it comes back full circle for that character. So, like, I like the interaction with father and son here, Lance Hendrickson and his son. There's no explanation where the mom is in the scenario.
I think he's supposed to be widowed is the thing. Like, they're without her. It's very simple. Like the storytelling is very fable-like, where it's just it's almost like a dark fairy tale, and that's how I've always kind of viewed it, as like a just more of a spooky fairy tale with some incredible lore in it, or at least I think it's incredible lore. Yeah, and we'll get into that. But
yeah, the father-son, it's a great relationship. Yeah, it does a good job of setting it up, like having Lance Hendrickson wash his son's hands for him. They own this like sort of grocery store literally out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, but they're making a living, I guess.
Apparently. Also, probably doesn't cost them a lot to live either.
No. They make this kid like the most sympathetic kid. They give him like these giant Coke. They call them Coke bottle glasses. The teenagers do. They're making fun of him. And he's just like this, just this tiny little like kid who loves his dog. And you're just like, oh man, nothing's going to happen to this kid. But yeah, something happens. To
we can spoil Pumpkinhead.
We can spoil Pumpkinhead. The kid gets like hit full on by a dirt bike.
Yeah. Kid gets fucked up. He dies.
Yeah. He does. He dies. I think the worst part of it, though, is he doesn't die right away. Like, Lance has a whole scene with him. Ed Harley, I guess, has the whole scene with him where he's like brought him back to the apartment, and the kid like gains enough consciousness to utter daddy and then just dies. And like, that is so mortifying. Like, that's so much worse than if he would have just picked up his kid, and his kid, like, to me, that's way worse. I don't know. I'm not a parent, so sound off, parents who listen to the show if I'm wrong, but to me, that seems way worse.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Just to hear literally your son's dying words as he's in your arms after the worst. This is the worst group. You can talk all you want about Friday the 13th group of kids. Yeah. These people suck.
Yeah. The only halfway decent one is the one that stays behind. And he's kind of a...
and he's a pushover.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not like, I don't know if he's half decent. He's like doing the bare minimum of like, I'm going to stay with this dying child right here.
Right. So he's not even like administering CPR, like seeing what he can do. He's just like sitting next to him. I'm like, God, this is, it's really,
Even the ones that were supposed to, at least towards the end, be on their side a little bit, they're the ones that are like taking pictures of like these like backwoods people who show up at Ed Harley's little grocery store with like the dirtiest children in the world, look like straight out of Oliver Twist. And like, she's like taking pictures of them like they're from like a nature documentary or something. Like, look at these strange people. I'm going to take pictures of them.
That is what city folk do, though.
Take pictures of dirty children, apparently.
They take pictures of dirty children.
Yeah.
And then they sell them to magazines.
Yep. And look how much money we're going to make from these dirty children out in the woods. Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's when we get introduced to the Pumpkinhead poem. Because the kids recite some of it here. And I'm gonna read it here quick because it's a very, very short poem. But this is the original version of Pumpkinhead from Ed Justin. Keep away from Pumpkinhead unless you're tired of living. His enemies are mostly dead. He's mean and unforgiving. Laugh at him, and you're undone, but in some dreadful fashion, vengeance he considers fun, and plans it with a passion. Time will not erase or blot a plot that he has brewing. It's when you think he has forgotten, he'll conjure your undoing. Bolted doors and windows barred, guard dogs prowling in the yard, won't protect you in your bed. Nothing will. From Pumpkinhead.
Hell yeah.
What an incredible poem. The kids recite some of the lines to Ed Harley's son and one of their siblings that Pumpkinhead's going to get them if they don't listen to them. And yeah, it's a great like setting up of the lore, like Pumpkinhead's out there, he's going to get you type of thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like this local legend in this area.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people know about it because we see like all of like 2 families here, but those 2 families know about Pumpkinhead.
It seems like just the people in the area know. Like, I'm guessing that the witch has kind of a radius around her where it's like, just if you're in this like county, you probably know about this.
Yeah, you know the witch of wherever. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know the creature in the woods.
The creature in the woods.
It's unclear on how many people actually know just how rich the lore is, because it does feel like Lance Henriksen discovers some things that even he doesn't know, like along the way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. I think people know of the legend of Pumpkinhead more so than they know of like, hey, this is how you conjure Pumpkinhead. This is what you need to sacrifice. This is how you become connected to Pumpkinhead, how you defeat Pumpkinhead. So I think there's a lot of mystery in it. Yeah. And that people just know of the lore, the legend of Pumpkinhead.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. And like, I don't even know, maybe if you go further into like an actual town instead of the country houses, who knows if people are even like, oh, you don't let someone in if they're knocking on your door, you know, like you can't interfere with Pumpkinhead.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's at least like legend around of like, you need to stay out of the way of Pumpkinhead, as we see in the movie, where the kind of the backwoods family is hiding out away from Pumpkinhead because they're like, if we get involved, Pumpkinhead comes after us. If we stay out of it, he'll leave us alone.
Yeah.
Also, how much of that is true? We don't know.
Yep.
So I think that, I mean, there's a lot to explore. I don't know how much the sequels explore that. The second one that I have seen it's pretty much the same lore as this one.
Yeah. Doesn't
pretty
add
straightforward.
Anything.
Yeah.
So honestly, though, I think that's why they add the kid into the 3rd act, like the actual kid who like wants to help, because A, they know all their teenagers are just deplorable, and B, it kind of illustrates the rule of like, oh, the kid got in the way, now he's on Pumpkinhead's list. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. This movie like really clicked for me on this watch, I'll be honest, and I like this watch, it is higher up in my opinion than it has been even previously. I really loved it this time around. Yeah.
I'm curious then. Okay, there's one other piece, because I really like the rest of it. There's only one other piece that I don't vibe with. Okay. Maybe you do a little more, and it's not that I don't vibe with it, but I wish it was a little different. It's the setting. The setting doesn't feel autumn enough until we get into the woods, because I feel like we're like in this open, like almost like desert like area in the beginning where they're riding dirt bikes and stuff. It's maybe a little too open for me.
I kind of get that.
But when we're in the woods, like when we conjure Pumpkinhead from the pumpkin patch, and you know, you have the witch's cabin out in the woods, and you have the backwoods family out there. I love that. I think that's perfect.
Yeah,
but it might just be like we shot in California type thing.
Yeah, I guess like that specifically doesn't bother me. Like it is a little odd that it's like there's just kind of this random dirt road in the middle of nowhere, and then all of a sudden there's woods. But it's never been a thing that like I've ever had an issue with, I guess, you know.
I don't really have an issue with it, but it doesn't like put me in a vibe, I guess.
Okay. I guess I get that. To me, this movie like really kicks into gear once he has visited the witch. You know, like that.
Yes.
That to me is the scene where it's just like, and it takes a while to get there. Like it's a bit of a slow burn getting there. I'd actually say Pumpkinhead is a very well paced movie, but I do think it's like a methodical movie.
Yes.
I don't know. I kind of love once the witch scene happens, yeah, that whole vibe after that, because that's drenched in just like kind of Halloween crunchy leaf atmosphere.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with that. And the witch is like, yeah, like you said, really the kickoff
Yeah.
to what everybody remembers from Pumpkinhead. And the witch's, I
Yeah.
mean, the witch's makeup is just so good. It's incredible. Like incredible
Yeah.
makeup work. The witch is just, it's an iconic witch. It's what you expect a witch to look like that lives out in the middle of the woods.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And one thing, like when Lance Hendrickson's character Ed Harley shows up to her place, he just like he brings his son and like immediately has like these silver dollars that he brings there as well. Like
Yeah.
like somehow knows he has to pay the witch to do this.
Yeah.
Very
It's kind
interesting.
of, yeah, it's so like, I kind of love that the movie doesn't explicitly spell out any of this. It's just like it's very mysterious. It's just like, well, everybody just kind of knows at least what they need to know,
Yeah.
you know? And I just, yeah, I love that. Also, Lance in this, when he finds out that his son has died, like we talk about how over the top the teenagers are and like what shitheads they are for literally just like leaving this kid.
Yeah.
But also you get the sense that because he saw Pumpkinhead as a child, that it would take something this extreme for him to go to that place. You know what I mean? And so to
Mhm.
me, like all of that is very much by design. And I don't know if it is. Maybe Stan Winston is like, yeah, I don't know. We just went over the top with it to go over the top with it. But I don't know. I think it just adds to the fable quality of it. You know, it's very Grimm's fairy tales, like OG, I feel like.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like that's definitely something that they're pulling from, and the vibe that you get from this movie too.
Yeah. It's like it's a cautionary tale above anything else, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean it's that
Yeah.
classic tale of vengeance of like you unleash vengeance on something and you immediately regret it. It's like, oh no, now I
Mhm.
got to stop the thing I thought was a good idea at the time when I let emotions get the best of me.
Yeah.
But yeah, when he goes, so one thing about this movie, this is I've been reading up on Lance Hendrickson in this movie. This is also a passion project for him, uh, much like Stan Winston, where he was like fully bought into this movie. Lance Hendrickson,
Oh,
he
you can
bought.
tell.
You can tell I mean, he's incredible. We talked about this off air. The shot of like him looking over his shoulder back at the kid that was like, I'm
It was an
sorry, like it
accident.
was an accident. Yeah. And just the
Yeah.
look of like, you get out of here because you're gonna die.
Yeah. Oh, that shot
So
sends
much pain and
chills down
anger in
my
his eyes.
spine.
Yeah.
It's yeah. Lance Henriksen is just he's selling this movie.
Yeah.
Oh,
Quite literally, because he bought most of his own wardrobe in this. He bought the silver dollars, the prop, apparently real silver dollars that he used for that scene as well. He bought
damn.
much of the decor that's in his house as well, and like requested fake teeth to make him feel more part of the like very rural area that they live in. So like he was fully bought into this movie, and that makes me just appreciate it all the more because I mean, if he's bought in, your lead actor so much like that where he's putting actual production into the movie, that just shows how much of a passion project it was for him.
Yeah, absolutely. God, I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And that just it makes sense because this to me, like when we talk Lance Henriksen, I mean, he's incredible in everything. You know, he's Lance Henriksen.
Mhm.
But this has always been my favorite performance of his, hands down. Like
I mean,
I
he
think he
also gets to be the lead here. He's not part of an ensemble or,
yeah.
just like a character. in the movie. He's the lead.
Yeah. And he's the lead with, like, he has a unique premise of like, you're not the instrument of your own revenge, and once you unleash it, you cannot stop it. Like, there aren't many revenge movies that are like that or even similar to that.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's such a meaty role to be like, oh, you wish vengeance and immediately regret it, and now you have to stop this unstoppable thing that is doing things in your name. Like, that's terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah, and really in any other like revenge story, if you like conjure up something else to take revenge for you, that thing's gonna come back and get you.
Right.
Versus here, he's taking the initiative of like literally like right away, like Pumpkinhead is born. We got to talk about that a little bit, like Pumpkinhead being born and how many like different versions of Pumpkinhead you get to see in that scene. Like there's one version where like he almost looks like Sam from Trick or Treat that we talked about.
Yeah.
Like his head looks like that. But you know, you get full-fledged Pumpkinhead after that. And God, we got to talk about the creature design for Pumpkinhead, because again, one thing that Stan Winston wanted in this was the character of Pumpkinhead to not have an actual pumpkin head. He's like, he told his designers, you know, the team at, you know, Stan Winston studio of like, I want Pumpkinhead. I don't want him to have an actual Pumpkinhead. It needs to be inspired by that concept, but needs to not have like a literal pumpkin on his head. And I think it does a great job of like finding that.
They nail
balance.
that.
Yeah.
Because he still kind of looks like a gourd of some kind in general, but like a very alien gourd.
Yeah.
Like
definitely from hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The creature design on this is just, it's immaculate. The shot that gets me is inside the cabin when it just like, he just comes out side of frame.
Or walks in the doorway.
Yeah. Just like walks into the doorway. And it's just like,
oh God, he's in the house. Yeah.
It's just like, what the, like, you just do not expect that. You expect him to be stalking around the perimeter. And then like, you're looking at the window and then to the left, he just pops out. You're like, what the hell? Like, oh, okay. Maybe I lied. This movie is scary. This movie's scary as shit.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it has some I think this is definitely one of the scariest monsters. Like just, how he's like, he's unrelentless, like he's not, you can't stop him. He'll appear out of nowhere. He does have like kind of undefined abilities, I guess. Because he is he climbs a tree at some point. Like we don't see it, but he climbs a tree.
He climbs a tree that seemingly has no branches until you get to the top.
Somehow got up there. But like the design of him, so he's got like these giant arms, these like claw hands, almost like a gourd head. He's very skinny, scrawny looking. And then has like these legs that like, trying to think of like what animal they remind me of. It's almost like backwards knees. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like almost like
an ostrich.
Yeah.
Almost like these ostrich type legs where like his knees like stick out further than they should, and he's walking on like his hind legs, and those are also like claws, and has like this giant tail that's probably about the same size as his entire body. I don't know, the entire design of Pumpkinhead is truly incredible. How they came up with this. Also, I've again looking up some research on this, the team that worked on this, Stan Winston's team, since he was like busy directing and had just finished Predator, he didn't have a lot of time to work on the design of Pumpkinhead, which is kind of crazy for Stan Winston to not have much of a say. But basically, like, he had built this team that he had enough goodwill towards where he's like, I trust you guys, here's my notes, go make what you think Pumpkinhead's going to be. And they just went out and made Pumpkinhead.
So I did notice that in the credits, he's not credited for the creature effects at all. In the opening crawl, it's like a list of like 6 people. And I was like, oh, that's kind of neat. I bet that's just like his team and they just all got lead credit on it or whatever.
And that's exactly what happened. And from all of them, I've heard like this is like one of the most fun movies that they've ever worked on. Like,
oh, can you imagine? I mean,
just one of them, a creature guy who wanted to make a creature feature. Like, that's what this movie is.
good God. I mean, like, this is like one of the definitive creature features.
Yeah.
Like, this is just to be able to say, like, I had a part in making this. I don't care if you held the fucking boom mic in this movie. Like,
I don't care
so
if
cool.
you sprayed the goo into Pumpkinhead's mouth. Like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a fun job.
That would be a fun job.
Yeah. Tom Woodruff Jr. is the effects person who was inside the actual Pumpkinhead suit. And I think how it worked was like, you know, I talked about with like his knees sticking out. I think that's where he stood and was almost on like stilts.
Yeah.
And like then inside the suit as well. Because like we get to see like full body shots. Like Pumpkinhead is walking. Like when they're in the like the old church.
Yeah.
Like you just get to see him walking through that old church, like with a huge wide shot.
The like blue backlight is there. Yeah. Like, oh God, it's so like that scene is so epic.
Yeah.
That scene is just,
I think that might be my favorite scene of the movie. Like, because here's another thing about the lore that I think is super cool is like the wind starts to pick up, like leaves begin flying.
Yeah.
Like fog kind of rolls in, like, and this blue light shows up. Like, you know, Pumpkinhead is coming. Like, it's never a secret when Pumpkinhead's around. It's like, no, shit's going down. Here's Pumpkinhead.
Yep. Yep. It's just like there's an amazing sense of atmosphere, especially like once you get to the witch. And I'd say that there's atmosphere in the first like half hour or so too. I just think it's a different type of atmosphere. Like it's more of a tense. You almost feel like you're watching something more akin to like The Hills Have Eyes than like what it ends up being. And I kind of love that. Like, I wish I would have been able to see this opening weekend in a theater in 1988, knowing nothing about it. Just being I
would love to see this in a theater.
Oh yes. I mean, I'm pretty sure this is on one of our wish lists.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as he starts picking off all these people, do you have any like kill scenes that stick out to you? The one that sticks out to me is when he kills the main bad guy, the one that like hit the kid.
Yeah.
Who, like immediately after this guy, I wrote his name down, Ed. Not Ed, sorry. Joel.
Joel,
Ed is the main guy. Joel, after he runs over Ed's kid, he like immediately is like, oh shit, I'm getting out of here. I got
priors.
Yeah. He's like, I got priors. I've been drinking before this. I'm getting the hell out of here. He loads up his dirt bike, takes off in his car, and goes to their cabin. It immediately is like
other people.
Yeah.
Who he then locks in a closet when they decide to grow a conscience.
Why are they his friend?
I have no idea.
Because this isn't this isn't the first time he's pulled shit like this.
Oh, hell no.
Yeah. So he is just the worst. And again, pulls guns on his friends, locks them in closets, threatens them. He's like, I'm not going to jail over an accident. Like, buddy, like you need to go to more than jail, I think. But one of my favorite kills is his, because he gets his rifle like shoved into him from Pumpkinhead.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, that's such a good one. I love the drop. Like just
from the tree. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm terrified of heights like that.
Yeah.
That just the shot of like the whip pan up the tree to like reveal he's like all the way up there with her. I'm like, oh no. Like,
yeah.
I want a found footage version of this movie, because can you imagine that? But in like found footage, like, oh,
found footage Pumpkinhead. I would watch the hell out of that.
MGM, I have a pitch for a Pumpkinhead reboot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say that's probably my favorite kill. Like, that's the scene I remember. Like, obviously there was like the church scene and everything, but it was like a little bit of a sizzle reel. And I've just always been terrified of heights. I think that like just like seeing him up there dropping a girl by like her skull, like he's just holding on to her by her skull and he just drops her. It's like, oh no, like I can't do that. Like,
yeah, terrifying. So towards the end of the movie, Ed figures out, he's like, again, the lore is very like, all right, we're kind of going as we're going along here.
Yeah,
he's like psychologically connected to Pumpkinhead because he was the person that conjured Pumpkinhead. And he realizes if he gets hurt, Pumpkinhead gets hurt. And that's the only way to defeat Pumpkinhead is if he dies, then Pumpkinhead dies. And I do like the link between the two of like, I kind of like the creator and the monster of like, I'm the one that has to take you out, but I need to pay the ultimate price for it. I love, again, we get another version of Pumpkinhead in this movie where he kind of looks like Lance Henriksen.
Yeah, like they start changing him to like
changing his face to look like Lance. Yeah.
And conversely, they make like Lance kind of more grotesque and monstrous as the movie progresses. I kind of love the fact that's like, no, like you made this wish, now you have to honor it. Like your hands aren't clean of this, just like their hands weren't clean of theirs. Like, and it makes you own it. And I just, oof, yeah, what a wallop of an ending. I just,
also there's like a thematic ending for both of these movies of Pumpkinhead and
Dark Harvest,
the Dark Harvest, Sawtooth Jack of like whoever is the last one to defeat them then becomes them. I'm a sucker for that of like, you become what you ultimately have just defeated. I love that stuff.
Yeah, it's like it's cyclical, and it's like, like violence just becomes more violence, and just I don't know that I just love it. It's these movies are like way more perfect thematically than I think I had put together until I was watching Pumpkinhead, and I'm like, wait a minute. Because I watched these in the reverse order of what we were talking about, but just interesting stuff.
Last little piece of trivia that I wrote down. Do you have any? Do you know what the budget of this movie was? Do you have any guesses?
I'm guessing it was only like between $1 and $5 million.
You got it right on. $3 million budget.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. Like that. Yeah, Lance Henriksen's the only like big like huge name in this anyways. Like,
but yeah, $3 million budget. Just to kind of compare, I think Predator had an $18 million budget.
Yeah, like
granted that's an action movie with Arnold and explosions and stuff, but
but still, like what they did on 3 million for this is like, what the hell, how do you Stan Winston, people
working at the height of their powers who all bought into the vision and were like, yes, we know exactly what we want. This is what we want to do with it. Making an 85-minute monster movie. And that's what they set out to do. And that's what they accomplished. And the more we talk about it, I'm going to jump into my rating. I'm going to give this 4 out of 5 pumpkins. I was at 3.5. I'm going to bump it up. Like the more I talk about it, the more I'm like, especially the second half of this movie fucking rules. So yeah, 4 out of 5 pumpkins on this one.
That makes me so happy, dude. On my watch, like I said, this movie just like really clicked in for me this time around. It just walloped me, and I bumped it up from 4 to 5 on this watch. This is just one that I love coming back to every year, and it's just like one of those Halloween movies that I just go to and I gravitate towards, and I'm gonna continue to. And it's probably not gonna be something that I say about the next movie that we talk about.
Well, let's talk about it. We're going to talk about now the second film in our double feature. But before we do that, we're going to give a shout out to our first sponsor for our first ad read here on the show. And that is Fangoria. Fangoria for over 40 years has been the leading source for all things horror. The famed magazine is back with a vengeance every single quarter with new in-depth discussions on the best contemporary horror, sci-fi, and macabre. And if you would like to take advantage of our affiliate link, you can do so by using the affiliate link below. You can see that QR code there, or go to shop.fangoria.com/Screams from the Basement and use promo code Screams from the Basement at checkout, and you can save 20%. And that is 20% off everything, including an annual subscription to the magazine, back issues, and the latest Fango merch. So again, shop.fangoria.com for all of your Fango needs. All right. Dark Harvest 2023 is our next movie and our double feature, directed by David Slade, written by Michael Giglio, based on the Norman Partridge novel Dark Harvest from 06, 07?
I think 06 or 07 in there. It should be in there.
Somewhere in there. I don't know.
I have a
somewhere
first
in there
of this laying. Oh yeah. Hold on.
Oh, Sam's got the OG version right here.
I love this book. It's amazing.
Hardcover even.
I can't even see anything though. Hold on. By the glow of my computer light.
Great content here, by the way.
Yeah, we're doing great.
We could just
2006.
2006. I was right. We should have just.
I should have Googled it. I had my phone right here.
Yeah. We're fine.
Yeah.
We're fine.
We're fine.
So again, based on the, it's a, young adult novel, Dark Harvest.
Yeah. It's definitely like a young adult horror. Definitely for teenagers, but it's a pretty dark and violent book.
Yeah.
As is the movie.
Yeah. In the movie, and relatively, the book is the same plot. I love this. This is the tagline for the movie. Evil stalks.
That's just it?
That's the tagline for the movie. Evil stalks. Get it? Because stalks of corn.
Yeah.
And stalks like a killer. Yeah.
That's pretty funny. Okay.
It's so dumb. So evil stalks
the tone of this movie at all.
No, not at all. Evil stalks the small town as Sawtooth Jack unleashes hell upon the town every Halloween night, as the town's teenagers must do the run and destroy it every single Halloween season. So Dark Harvest, you have a lot more history with this. I'll let you kick it off. This is a childhood book of yours, if I'm not mistaken.
This is one that I my local library had this book for some reason, just like randomly. We had a really cool teen librarian that would get like horror books because she knew that, kids like me would read them. And this was just one that I saw the cover of it. It was on one of the Halloween displays, and I'm like, this is super cool. And I picked it up, and I think I read this thing in one sitting. Once I started this book, I could not put it down. And I always say that Christine by Stephen King is the book that I've read the most, but that's a really long book, and Dark Harvest is not. And there have been Halloween seasons where I've read it twice because it's a pretty quick read. So Dark Harvest, I've probably read more times than any other book ever. And the movie, I knew, as soon as I knew there was going to be a movie, I knew that I was going to be disappointed in some aspect of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's just this, I have this version of the story in my head. Nothing is going to live up to this version of the story that I have built in my head over the, almost 2 decades I've had of reading this book.
Mm-hmm.
And I was right. But I do love this movie in its own. Love is maybe a strong word. I do like this movie in its own unique way, and I try and take it on its own merit, but it is hard not to compare to something that's as just whip smart as that book is. What about you? I know your first. You haven't read the book yet, right?
No, so I'm listening to
Okay.
the audiobook right now, and I'm about halfway
Yeah.
through the audiobook right now. But it was one
Okay.
of those titles where I was like, I was always aware of it.
Yeah.
And it was one of those titles of like whenever they would put out at the library would put out, the Halloween season books. That was
Yep.
always one that was sitting there and just never
Yep.
picked it up. I don't know. And I love like scarecrow stories. I love like pumpkin-headed monsters. Like Headless Horseman is one of my favorite
Yeah.
fictional characters of all time, and just I'd never picked up the book. I also
Yep.
wasn't a great reader in middle school, which is like the age that you would read this.
Yeah.
But always knew about it, and then when the movie was announced, like I was like, okay, yeah, let's finally get to this. And this movie has a very troubled production.
Yeah. And then it sat
It
on the shelf for a while.
was shot pre-pandemic,
Yeah.
2018, 2019. And literally sat, I mean, I think it had a 2020 release date
It did. It was supposed
originally.
to come out in 2020. It's supposed to
Yep.
come out in the fall of 2020.
Yeah.
And it literally had a release date. I remember this vividly. It had a release date, and it got to about 2 weeks before the release date. And trailer hadn't come out. No one had said anything. They had like it was in IMDb as being released like 2 weeks. And then that date just passed and it just got removed off of the release list. And no one said anything about
Mhm.
it. I was
Yeah.
one of like 10 people that were tweeting about it. Like, what happened to this movie?
I feel like for 3 Halloween seasons in a row, it was like, where is this movie?
Yeah.
Before
gr-
it finally
It,
showed
it
up
picked
on
up
VOD.
steam.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, because
I
that 2021, I feel like no one cared.
yeah.
And then like 2021, it happened again, and everybody's like, hey, wait a minute, wasn't this supposed to? And then it just kept kind of escalating from there.
Yeah, because I think in 2021, it started to appear on like, hey, here are the top 10 most anticipated horror, those type of
Yeah.
lists. And for 3 years, then it was on that list.
Yeah.
2021, 2022, and 2023. And we finally got the movie last year, 2023. Was it released in October? Was it released? It was released earlier than that, right?
No, it was in October.
Was it in October?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it had like a very, very small theatrical showing, maybe, or did it just go direct to VOD?
I think it went straight to VOD.
It might have been just straight to VOD. If it was straight to VOD, I'm pretty sure it dropped mid-October.
Yeah. So I mean,
It dropped Halloween-a-Palooza weekend. I
that
remember
sounds right.
that.
That
Yep.
sounds right.
Yep.
Yeah.
'Cause
So
I bought
yeah,
it that Friday, but I didn't have time to watch it before we left. So the whole weekend I was like jonesing to get home so I could be disappointed.
well, here's the interesting thing that I couldn't find a whole lot of like the production on this and like why it was delayed forever. Like that hasn't come out yet. Like I
Wasn't
haven't
it like
heard
an
anything of it.
MGM one?
Yeah.
Because MGM just had
MGM
a rough
did. Yeah,
year.
had been bought by Amazon. Yeah, that was part of
Yeah.
it. But also like this movie had 4 years before it came out. Like when it was by the
Yeah.
time it was finished. So there's more than just
I think it just got
that.
forgotten about, honestly. I mean, no one even bothered to announce like, hey, we're not actually releasing this on this date in 2020.
Yeah.
They just let it pass and didn't comment. I think
And so,
everybody
like-
just was like, oh, that's still in our basement.
Yeah. Even David Slade is like, well, the paycheck cleared. Like,
Yeah.
and honestly, this movie does feel so. I don't love this movie. I've seen it now twice. I want to love this movie. I think there's a great movie in here. First time I watched it, I think I gave it like a 3-star. I'm at like a 2.5,
Yeah.
maybe 2-star. Like it just doesn't. There's nothing. There's no meat on the bone here. There's no meat on the bone for this movie. Doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of. Unlike Pumpkinhead, it's like the complete opposite of like. I don't feel like anyone's loving what they're doing here.
Yeah, it does. It does kind of feel a little straight to video
Yes.
in a way, but it
Very.
is. I will say it's gorgeously shot for a straight to video type of movie.
It's got an interesting style.
Yeah, I see. I really like the visual style of it, but if you've watched David Slade movies, like that's kind of how
Yeah.
he shoots. Like he's very slick. He's very like everything is like pristine, you know.
Yeah.
There's no real like grit to the visuals, but
And the
his
movie
films are
kind
often gritty, which
the
is kind of
movie
weird.
yeah, this movie needs to be a little grittier, a little more homemade almost. It feels too
Yeah.
polished in a way.
And sometimes to me that really works, like the sequence in the cornfield where the group of boys first run across Sawtooth Jack. I think that Slade's style really works well with that. But there are like times where you're like in this town, in the like poor part of town, but they're kind of shooting it the exact same way as like the rich part of town. So there's not a lot of like visual, you just kind of see like, oh, well, this house has worse siding, I guess.
This house
Like
like hasn't been painted in 10 years. Like, okay,
yeah.
like are they actually yeah. So again, the plot of this movie takes place in the 60s. You have your typical I mean, the book starts with I love this opening line because the movie starts with this opening line too.
Yep.
And so does the book. I'm gonna read it here quick. We're just going into story time today.
Hell yeah.
A Midwestern town, you know its name. You were born there. So the movie starts with that with an opening narration. The book starts with that line of dialogue as well. And I think it's a perfect way to set up of like, we're just in every town, middle America.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the movie does a decent job of setting that up.
The book
At least
does
the
a
opening
much
narration does.
better job at setting it up.
Yeah.
The book, so the thing with the movie is like it's very stylish and slick, and it's a very nice recreation of the 50s, like this or the 60s,
Or very
whichever,
early 60s. It's
very
like
early
61 or
60s. That's
yeah.
right. That's right. It does a very good job of like of being that, but it is like the it's the Riverdale version of like the 60s, and I like that style. It's not necessarily the style of the book. Like the book feels a little more authentic. It feels a little more like this town is a little more lived in. Like you get to know the characters. You get to know the bully character. You get to know the sheriff. You get to know like you get into the minds of a lot of these boys that are around this town. And it's something that they can't really do cinematically. So a lot of the characters around our main character are just kind of nobodies,
Yeah.
And that's an issue because like they also kind of take a lot of the main character in this is not even the same. I will say that. In the book, he does not have an older brother that won the run. It's just some kid who won the run the year before. And he is just a kid on the rough side of town who is always getting in trouble. And this is his only way out. And he's just desperate. And to me, that's so much more interesting than what they end up doing.
Yeah.
What's
the setup of this?
Let's
give us the setup. Yeah.
So the setup is that this run happens every year where a farmer goes out into his cornfield and he cuts down Sawtooth Jack, or in the book he is also referred to as the October Boy. And it's basically this giant pumpkin-headed scarecrow that is stuffed to the guts with candy and sent into town. And every boy in town is starved and like locked in their room by their parents for like, I think it's like 5 days or 3 days, maybe
3 days. Yeah.
3 days. Yeah. 3 days in the movie. I think maybe it is in the book too. I don't know. I haven't done my reread this year.
Yeah.
Is it? Okay.
I think so.
So yeah, for 3 days, these boys are starved, and then they just let him loose, and they're like, you have to kill Sawtooth Jack before he makes it to the church and he rings the bell. If he rings the bell, it means bad things for the town. And that's the premise. All these kids, like all these boys who are like coming of age, are sent out to kill this creature. And lots of kids die every year, and that's just a thing that they deal with and they just live with. And it's just, yeah. So in the book, it's just this kid who is like really needing to get out of town. In the movie, they make it so this kid, his older brother won the run, so his family's got all the prize. He's living a lavish life, but he still is like the kid from the wrong side of the track.
Still a greaser. Yeah.
Yeah, he's still a greaser.
Once a greaser, always a greaser. Yeah.
Yeah, and it just, I get what they were trying to do because, I mean, spoilers for Dark Harvest, but like the winner of the run becomes the October Boy next year. He gets literally just shot and buried in the cornfield.
Yeah.
And he just becomes the creature the next year. And that's the big reveal. And I get what they were trying to do with like, oh, my brother won last year, and having that reveal have the more emotional impact. But I don't necessarily think that it pulls that off very well.
No. It's a big old wet fart when that happens.
Yeah, it kind of taints the ending of this movie in a big way. Like, David Slade is a big fan of downer endings. Have you seen 30 Days of Night?
Oh, yeah.
It's been a while,
but yeah.
Downer fucking ending. Yeah. Like, we watched that in December last year, and I was like, oh, this movie is like a lot more depressing than I remember it being.
Yeah, there's like, this feels very studio note of like, okay, this is the things we're going to change. We need to make it like, there needs to be like an emotional stake. Like,
yeah,
what if it was his brother that won the year before and they had this big emotional,
kill his own brother? Because that's the thing,
shoot his brother in front of a church. Oh, yeah.
I can't spoil the end of the book for you, but the end of the book is completely fucking different. I'll just say that. The end of the book is completely fucking different. And I think the way that they change the ending in this is so mean-spirited and like unnecessary. I'm like, why? You had a good ending in the book. Like, what is this? Like, I don't hate mean-spirited endings. One of my favorite movies of all time is The Mist, but like, I don't think this movie needed it. You know, the movie up until that point is dark itself. Like, there are boys that are just beating each other through the heads with like blunt objects and killing shop owners for a scrap of meat. Like, it's an intense fucking brutal movie, and the ending does not need to do the same thing.
Who's this movie for?
Well, presumably it's not for fans of the book, because like I don't know, the more I'm talking about this, the less it's going. Like, it already went down, and I think it might go down again. And like, and that's not to say that there's not cool things in this movie.
Oh,
there are things that I really love in this movie. It's just, as a whole, it just, some of the creative decisions, it makes me happy to hear you have some of the same like issues, because I'm like, but why? Because the book's not like that. The book is something that I love wholeheartedly. And this movie, like, I knew there were going to be changes. I'm just like, I didn't know they were going to be so dour, you know?
So, again, the book is for like a young adult reader, like middle school, maybe early high school reader.
I'd say probably more high school.
Yeah. But like maybe advanced middle school.
Like 7th, 8th, probably like 7th grade up. Yeah.
And so in this movie, they're just like dropping F-bombs left and right, and it just feels very, and I'm like, I'm not a prude, obviously. Like, right. I don't care, but like, it feels out of place.
I am pretty sure that even though this was in the teen section of my library, it did have like an explicit sticker on it. So the book has at least a little bit of it. Maybe not swearing though.
Yeah, but like I haven't come across any swearing in the book yet. And it, like, I don't know, violence, especially in a book form, like, you can probably handle a little more.
Yeah.
Because it's a little more implied versus cursing. Same with this movie. I'm like, we don't need this. I don't know. It feels weird. It feels out of place.
There are weird things where it's like, it wants to be edgy. To where you think that the town bully is going to use the actual N-word, and he uses the like, we can get away with this in 2024 version of the N-word.
Yeah,
and I'm like, but then like when he goes to beat up our protagonist, the camera just stays on his buddy and lets him beat up our protagonist off screen, and I'm like, later we're going to watch a kid's head literally get bashed in with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Like,
that character, the female love interest who has
Yeah.
no chemistry with our lead,
no.
and like is barely a character. We don't know her outside of, hey, she works at the movie theater and becomes
This-
the love interest. Like, that's it. She feels like a studio note.
She does, and it kind of like. So the first time I watched it, I was like, it's kind of cool that they're bringing,
No, go ahead. I'll finish my point after.
I think it's cool that they're like trying to bring some social consciousness into it, because the book, it's all about boys. It's like, it's a whole tome on like masculinity and like being a man and all this, you know? Whereas like this movie is like kind of moving away from that and almost having it be more of like I don't know, like it's not, I think its intentions are in the right place, but I think sometimes it rings a little hollow. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those things where they were like, oh, we should like update this with modern 2024 politics, you know? And it felt more
that wasn't 1961 though. You know, it feels like you said, it rings hollow. I think the actress is incredible.
She's really good. Like she's kind of what the movie ends on. She should be what the movie ends on, because the post-credit scene is like really kind of dumb.
So stupid.
But like I do kind of feel like the fact that she's the one that gets out at the end of everything, like that's kind of a cool concept. I just wish they had done something better with it. Like given her any sense of character aside from our main character's crushing on her and she works at the movie theater.
Yeah.
And so, she's, and she's black in a very white town who is all like aggressively racist. Like it just, there
was nothing to her character. I'm going to shout out the actress, Emery Crutchfield. Like, I think she's delivering the best performance in the movie. I think some of the other performances are kind of rough in this movie, and maybe I don't know if it's the performances or the writing, or there's a couple. The cop.
You don't like the cop?
The cop is so bad. The dad.
Okay, the dad I'll give you. The dad felt like we tried to get Henry Thomas and we couldn't.
Yeah. The bully is pretty bad.
Bully's not good. The bully's not
Our lead is like as bland as white bread. Like,
yeah. Look, I'm not gonna argue with any of these things. Like, this is a straight to video movie.
It wasn't intended to be though. Like, it's an MGM movie.
Yeah. Well, MGM didn't put a lot of money into this, it feels like. Also, it sat on a shelf for so long. Anyways, no, okay. Point of contention.
Okay.
I love the cop in this. And I think it's because he is in it's one of those, like, he's in a completely different movie than everybody else.
Yep.
But honestly, in a movie this dour, I kind of need that. Like, I kind of giggle every time he's on screen, and he brings a sense of maybe unintentional levity to the proceedings, but I kind of love him for that. I think his over the top monologue about the last time they let Sawtooth Jack win and he found his brother bloated in the yard after a 3-day sandstorm and all this stuff. Like, I love that stuff. I think he's so captivating.
I don't know. I think there's not many performances I like in this movie. I think they're all pretty rough. I don't think there was a definitive tone that was set forth to the actors. So I think everyone's kind of all over the place, and it makes for a very weird mishmash of a movie.
It's so weird because, like, honestly, I'm going to keep saying this. The book has such a specific, perfect tone already. And I know that adapting a novel is hard, but like the atmosphere and the vibe should be like the number one thing that you're trying to like project, and I don't feel like that's the case here.
No. There's one question I have. In the book, are they allowed to leave town? Is that brought up, or is that something changed for the movie?
So it's never like as explicit as in the movie. The implication
where they're
is
like
just that the cop will follow you out of town and kill you. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a great security system. You mean no one's just driven off at 3 a.m. in the middle of the night?
with the one cop? Yeah.
Yeah, like, so in the book is smarter than that by just being like, no one really leaves town.
No one, the metaphor of a small town, no one leaves this town.
It's a metaphor, exactly.
Instead of the movie's like, has to show the cop like driving and like slamming on the brakes to stop this kid from. It's so stupid. I hate it so much.
So it also I don't think in the book there's nothing about like, oh, the last time Sawtooth Jack won, blah 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 blah. At least in any valid way, it's all just like rumor. And then in this book, it's or in the movie, they're literally like, no, this is what happened last time.
I'm okay with like explaining like, hey, this is what will happen. Like,
yeah,
like,
but I'd rather it be
like
left ambiguous as to like,
it should be rumors between the kids.
Yeah, like, is this a real thing or is this just, you know,
town's hysteria?
Yeah, town's hysteria. Exactly. I don't know. I wish it was more ambiguous, is what I'm saying.
All right,
I wish everything in this movie was more ambiguous.
Yeah, it tries to explain way too much in this movie. I want to talk about positives.
Yes.
Sawtooth Jack is a positive of this movie. The design of Sawtooth Jack looks incredible. Like we talked about with Pumpkinhead, where they're like, we don't want a pumpkin for his head. This one's like, no, he needs to have a pumpkin for his head. Like, I just love the overall character. Like you said, he's a scarecrow with a pumpkin like rotting into his skull.
Yeah.
And he's filled with candy. Like, that might be my favorite part of him. Like, that someone like goes out of their way to fill him with candy.
Yeah, like the best shot of not the best, but one of the best shots of the movie is like just after in the cold open right before the title card,
we're like start ripping all the candy out of him.
Yeah, and like there's like the scene where he's in the background and his face just flares up and it's like, oh shit, you know, like all of that stuff is amazing. I think the scene in the cornfield on like the present day run where they meet the new Sawtooth Jack for the first time. Like the one kid who's running just gets like the top half of his head annihilated. And like that scene is genuinely like, what the fuck?
And it's like still talking.
Yeah, like he literally utters like the main character's name before he falls over, and it's like, oh, that's
the kid rough. Right before him gets literally cut in half.
Yeah, just bisected.
Yeah.
There's the scene where he goes into the bunker where all the like kids are hiding out.
That's my favorite. So that's my favorite scene.
It's so good, right?
It's the one I would sell people on if they're like somewhat interested in watching Dark Harvest. And you have one of our main characters who like he tries to go home. One of the greaser kids.
Yeah,
they're called. I wrote down their like gang, the Bandits.
Yeah,
like,
the Bandits.
What a great like 60s greaser gang name.
Yeah,
and they have like their own leather jackets and stuff. And so he tries to run home and his mom's like, no, like you need to go win this for us. You're not coming back in the house. So he goes like across the street and finds a cellar. And there's like all these like nerdy kids, it looks like, are hanging out.
It's like all the D&D kids, you know.
Yeah, they were probably playing D&D downstairs, and then like, oh, someone's
like they have doctor's notes to get out of gym class. They're not killing Sawtooth Jack.
Yeah, the doctor would not write a note for them to get out of this run.
No.
And so they're all like hiding in this bunker, and he's trying to get in. And at some point, one of the kids like tries to let him in, right?
Yeah, like they open
the door, and there's Sawtooth Jack, and like there's this great shot from like across the street, and you just see Sawtooth Jack like walking down into the cellar, and you just see blood like gushing out of the cellar.
Not before he rips that kid's head in half. Like he literally grabs him by the jaw and just like Mortal Kombat's the kid, and it's just like, what the? And then
The
fucking
geyser.
blood
Yeah.
geyser. Like it's gnarly and it's beautiful.
I love the kills. I think we needed to linger on them a little longer. That's my
Yeah,
big
I would agree with
gripe
that.
with the kills. I think they're the best part, but I think we needed to have some sort of like, oh my God, did that just happen? It needed to linger on it. I think the geyser one is the best at it, where it does linger on that because it has the buildup of him going down the stairs and then the geyser coming up.
Yeah. Well, and isn't that the kid that also was like scared to begin with? Because when he was a kid, he saw Sawtooth Jack kill a teenager outside of his window. And it comes full circle because like there's a kid from a bedroom window watching Sawtooth Jack kill him and then go into that bunker and destroy all the others. Like there are things in this movie that I'm like, oh shit, this is really cool. Like, yeah.
There's a scene later where Sawtooth Jack is walking out of this building and his like head is flaming.
Yeah. Oh, where he goes back to his childhood home.
Yeah.
And it just like overwhelms him and he just like bursts. Yeah. Yeah. That scene rules. That scene's really good.
Incredible looking. Yeah.
I keep wanting to spoil the book for you.
Well, I mean, you can spoil.
We'll talk about it.
Don't say you can spoil it. Like spoilers for the book of Dark Harvest, because we're going to talk about the endings here.
Yeah,
for the movie too.
So
spoilers for the movie too. Spoiler alert! Come back in 10 minutes.
Yeah,
or if you don't care.
In the book, the burning down scene, it happens at the old movie theater downtown. Like that's where Sawtooth Jack just like goes there to die because he knows that there's like no like moving on from this, even though he won. Like the whole town's in chaos because Jim helps him. Like Jim helps him to the fucking church and like Sawtooth Jack fucking wins. And then like, yeah, the town erupts into chaos. And well, it was already in chaos because of, the whole run happening. But, yeah, I think the cop gets like shot and Jim like leaves town. Like it's a great ending. I don't know what, like it still is dark. Like this town is screwed.
Yeah.
It's burning down. Like it's like the end of
can you imagine the ending where
like,
he's like, even with this new character where he has his girlfriend and they drive off.
Yeah.
The shot of like the town burning down behind them. Yeah. I don't know. So the ending of this. Yeah. Okay. So like an hour, this movie is only an hour and a half with credits. The credits are very long too.
An hour into it.
An hour
this
into
movie
it.
Should end.
This movie has an ending. It has a climax. It's where Jim, our main character, now has realized that Sawtooth Jack is his older brother.
Oh, and his mom kills herself.
That's so stupid. We're not going to talk about it. We're literally not going to talk about it. It's so dumb. I hate it.
It's a terrible scene.
It's a terrible scene. Great actress.
Yes.
Flanagan favorite there.
Absolutely, yeah.
Again, nobody knows what the tone of this is. Anyway, so we're outside the church and like Jim's going to help Sawtooth Jack win. He's like, we're going to end this tonight. That's it. And instead, like the bully character teams up with the sheriff and the sheriff's like, congratulations, you just won the run this year.
Which that does happen in the book.
I like that. I think that's
better. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's interesting at least.
Yeah.
And basically it doesn't work out. The bully ends up tries to kill Sawtooth Jack. Sawtooth Jack then shoots himself.
Well, no, Sawtooth Jack.
He has Jim shoot him, but like,
yeah, Jim won't do it. But then I guess he decides to in the end, like, and he wins. He wins the run.
Jim wins the run,
and then the movie goes on for 20 more minutes.
Yeah, literally, at least 20.
Like literally, yeah. It's baffling.
It's like, what are we doing?
He's like,
and like it ends with him getting ready to leave town, and him and the girlfriend sort of have like this idea of how they're gonna leave. She still has a gun that she took from the bully, and she gives it to Jim. They're gonna leave town, but as soon as they try to leave town, the sheriff chases him down because nobody leaves town. Oh, type whatever. And it like has such a terrible, like, it's the longest 20 minutes ever. It's so long. It feels so long. The pacing is so bad in these final 20 minutes.
It's because you just completely slow down and you watch him go to the dance and you watch him do all this stuff and you see like all this overwrought, like everybody's celebrating while he's miserable. It's like you do that for 10 minutes and it's too much.
Yeah.
It's way too much.
He tries to leave town. He ends up like getting in a scuffle with the cop. The cop's going to go bury him as the new Sawtooth Jack for next year.
Mm-hmm.
And like
and he kills the cop.
He kills the cop. He's going to get away. And then the farmer
knocks him out.
The farmer knocks him out and goes full Step Brothers on him. And he's like, I'm still alive.
He just buries him alive. It's insane.
Just buries him alive. So stupid.
and then the girlfriend, the dad comes up and gives the girlfriend permission to leave. I'm like, oh my God, just have her drive away. Just have her drive away. This is
Why
ridiculous.
Does she need permission from this guy?
Yeah, no kidding.
Terrible father.
Terrible father. Everybody's terrible in this
So she drives off and like Dark Harvest comes up.
Yeah.
Like a film by David Slade. And then there's like another scene after.
It overstays its welcome, and then it rolls credits, and then it's like, but wait, there's more. Please just stay for. And admittedly, watching like the seasons change and watching like
visually, it's cool.
Sawtooth Jack reform over a year is really neat. Put that somewhere in the movie. Put that in the beginning. Do something like that. Like, I mean, come on. Yeah.
My note just says, what the fuck is the third act? That's all I wrote for this. It's so dumb.
It goes so off the rails. None of that's in the book. None of it. Like, it's really something else. It really is. Yeah. And then, you end on not Henry Thomas yelling, burn it all down.
Yeah.
Apologies to that actor. You were doing the best with what you had.
He didn't know what movie. Again, I don't blame any of these actors. They didn't know.
No, I do not blame any. Like, there was clearly not a sense of tone established on this set. Everyone's in a different movie. Yeah, like, Elizabeth Reiser is in a Flanagan movie. She's 100% in a Flanagan movie.
She thinks she's in a family drama. You have the cop who thinks he's in like a schlocky slasher movie.
He thinks he's Dennis Hopper in TCM2.
Yep. The dad's in like, I don't know what the dad's in. He's sort of in this kind of like, sort of what like
he
like in a revenge
has the
type
vibe
movie.
Kind of.
Yeah,
that's what I'll say. He has awful dialogue that he has to sell, but he at least understands the vibe of this movie a little better than some of the cast members around him.
So, Dark Harvest. We shit on this movie a lot. I think there's a lot of fun to be had with.
I still recommend it.
Sawtooth Jack. I don't recommend it, but I'll give my score first. We'll get my negative one out of the way because I don't recommend this movie. I recommend watching highlights of Sawtooth Jack on YouTube. I'm giving this movie 2.5 stars.
Okay.
Maybe 2. I don't know. Like, Sawtooth Jack is awesome. There's some great kills in this. The rest it's bad. Like a bad movie.
It's a rough movie. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, how many there's a great line of dialogue in here I'm gonna bring up here.
Is it burn it down, burn it all down?
No.
Black.
It's one of the kids when they start like the riot, like when they start the run. He's like, I cut off my fucking nuts for a Twinkie, man.
Oh yeah,
that's a fun line.
That's a fun line.
But how many flaming pumpkin heads are you giving this movie?
I'm gonna give it a very, 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 very soft 3, and say, check it out if you like really dour endings, or watch the first hour of it and then turn it off.
As soon as Sawtooth Jack is dead, just okay, that's the movie. Short one.
Yeah. Like, it's still a bummer ending, but it kind of at least fits. So yeah. That's my recommendation.
Yeah. So anyways, that was our I don't know what would you call this double feature? If you were going to play this in a theater, you're going to play Pumpkinhead and Dark Harvest. What would you title the night?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't play Dark Harvest in a theater, I don't think.
If you were.
If I was, I would call it the Spooky Scary Pumpkin. I don't know. You threw me with this question. What would you call it?
I don't know. Maybe like the Pumpkin Man's double feat. I don't know. Something It's got to have pumpkin somewhere in there.
Yeah.
He was a pumpkin boy, but now he is a pumpkin man. I don't know. Something with pumpkins. Who knows?
Boys to Men.
Pumpkin Boys to Men.
Pumpkin Boys to Men double feature. And you play a Boys to Men music video between for the intermission.
Yeah. Yeah. If anyone from the State Theatre is listening to the podcast right now, Pumpkin Boys to Men is going to get pitched for next
October lineup is here.
Pumpkin Boys to Men. Well, Sam, this has been fun talking about both of these pumpkin-headed monsters, but we're not done yet.
We are not.
We are not.
We have another sponsor.
Ooh, we do.
Are you looking for that extra buzz while watching the Texas Chainsaw Massacre? How about melting your mind while watching a David Cronenberg movie? Well, Turp Boys Delta 8, 9, and THCA gummies, vapes, chocolates, and more has you covered with that. This plant-based product is made from the purest organic hemp-based extracts and backed by third-party laboratories. You can visit our affiliate link, the QR code on the video, or go to buyturpboys.com/screamsfromthebasementpod and use promo code screamsfromthebasementpod at checkout to save 10% off your order, and you can get a little buzzed while you're, watching goopy, gross horror movies. Don't we all love that? I mean, sometimes horror movies are just better with a little THC coursing through you.
Dark Harvest would 100% be better with a little something, something.
I can attest to that. Yes. Yes, it is.
All right. Sam, what's our next seg on the show?
Casey, our next seg on the show. What have you been doing, man?
So we have a lot of crossover in Doobie Doing. All of mine are things I watched in the theater. Surprisingly.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah. All theater watches here. I'm going to start off with the brand new release. I won't say much because I know you have not watched this yet. But I made it out to the theater opening weekend for the #1 movie at the box office opening weekend, Damien Leone's Terrifier 3.
I want to see it so bad. I can't believe I haven't made it yet.
You got to get out. You got to get out.
I got to get out.
You got to get out there. Terrifier 3. I liked this movie. Didn't love it. There are things that I wish were expanded upon. Characters specifically. I think Sienna Shaw, played by Lauren Lavera, kind of takes a little bit of a back seat in this one, unfortunately, where I do think she's one of the best parts in Terrifier 2. The things I do love, though, I think Art the Clown is incredible. This might be the funniest Art the Clown performance from David Howard Thornton. I think he's more explicitly funny in this one versus like, oh my God, is this happening? That happens in the first two movies, where he is explicitly like having fun. And most of the characters he's killing here deserve it in a way.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little less mean-spirited than the previous two movies, but it's still very much, I mean, if anyone
Terrifier.
knows, it's Terrifier. Like, I'm sure people have heard about the opening of this where he's Santa Claus in someone's house. So
I have indeed already heard about that. I'm very... Yeah.
There's a scene with rats. Not gonna say anything more than that, where it's like, oh no. Okay. So yeah, there's a lot to look forward to in this. It's a bloody good time. It's a ton of fun.
Hell yeah.
Go watch Terrifier 3. Support indie cinema, indie horror cinema, making waves at the box office. The Right Clown won that weekend, by the way.
Yes.
And then I'll jump to, I think I only have one movie that is not a crossover with you. I
Yeah.
watched
Do we
a
want to do it
triple
like last
feature.
time where we do our individuals and then both of us and then we just do all of our
Yeah, we can do that.
crossover?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I watched my last one before we talk our crossovers. I watched The Hills Have Eyes, Wes Craven's original film at the Sioux Falls State Theatre. That was a ton of fun. I just went by myself because I had nothing else to do. Like Kayla was at game night. You were not wanting to do a triple feature, so I'm like, I'm gonna go watch a movie by myself. I'll watch The Hills Have Eyes. I hadn't watched this in a while. It's hard to say it's a fun movie, but it's like I kind of have some fun watching it. It's a little dour, it's a little dark, but like there's also that Wes Craven like just weirdo attitude to it as well.
Yeah. It's Wes Craven is strange in that he can make the darkest kind of movies feel fun.
Yes.
Like,
And that's
yeah.
definitely The Hills Have Eyes. I think the reputation of like I always grew up knowing like that title, kind of like Nightmare on Elm Street. The two like horror titles that always stuck out to me as a kid where like my imagination ran wild were A
Yeah.
Nightmare on Elm Street and The Hills Have Eyes. Where I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
what is it? What does that mean? Like the hills have like I understood like, oh, someone's watching you from the hills. I'm like, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
And like anytime I would drive, like if I had that in my mind and we drive like by hills, I'm like, oh, someone's watching us. This is terrifying. And
Yeah.
yeah, this movie's kind of fun. Like the way it portrays like the inbred cannibal nuclear monsters in this is like it's Michael Berryman and then some people who wear like what's that called?
Loincloths?
Loincloths. And
Yeah.
like loincloths and like bone necklaces. Like they're not that mutated. I don't know. Unlike like the Aja remake where it's like they're completely grotesque and gross
Yeah.
and barely
Ugh.
human. These are just like people who have dirt on them.
Ew, they're dirty.
They're dirty. They look like the children from Pumpkinhead. Ew. Take pictures of them.
Sell them to Vogue.
Sell them to Vogue. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Hills Have Eyes is fun. I like Hills Have Eyes 2 more. Like I think that one's more fun because the dog returns in Hills Have Eyes 2. Beast, who's the best character in this movie. Beast is the best character. More horror movies need to have dogs as the leads. And glad the Hills Have Eyes 1 and 2 has a dog for a lead. He gets flashbacks in the sequel though. So
amazing.
Love that.
Hopefully.
What about you, Sam?
Hopefully that'll be a late night in the future.
Hills Have Eyes 2. I would love that. There's like dirt bike chases and dogs having flashbacks. It's so much fun.
I rewatched I Saw the TV Glow, and the only reason I bring it up is to continue to implore people to seek that movie out. It is it's my favorite movie of the year. I just love it. It walloped me again. Like it's yeah. This movie is an analog fever dream, and I kind of love it. So yeah, check that out. I got around to The Watcher in the Woods after having bought that on DVD at Last Stop a while back. One of those like hard to find dark Disney flicks. And I really liked it. It's kind of a slight ghost story. Like I think I liked Something Wicked This Way Comes a little bit more. But I do like this one quite a bit. It's just kind of classic and atmospheric and vibey. And I know you've seen this one, right?
Yes. Yep.
You've seen both of them, correct?
I have not
Something
seen
Wicked?
I've not seen Something Wicked. No.
Okay.
Again, another one of those dark Disney that like you need to own a physical copy of to watch.
I have a physical copy of it. We should I mean, not that a lot of people have access to it, but we should do that as an
we should definitely
sometime.
do that as a double feature. Yeah.
cool.
Watching the Woods feels like a Are You Afraid of the Dark episode, but like like an hour and a half
feature length.
Version. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It's so kind of go into it with that mindset and you'll have a really good time with it because it doesn't really get above that intensity level. It's dark Disney, but it's like
Disney movie still.
It's still a Disney movie. Something Wicked This Way Comes has a little bit it's a little darker, I think. Not in any way that's gonna, like scar you for life or anything, but I'd say it's on a scale of like Watch Her in the Woods being a 3 and Return to Oz being that's terrifying, that's 10. It's probably sitting at about a 6, 7, you know? There's a beheading in that one. It's pretty nuts.
There's a beheading, but no wheelers. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no wheelers, because I mean, that's really what everybody talks about when they're like, Return to Oz is terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I got. And then all of our theater escapades.
So what do we got for our theater escapades? I think let's start with our we had 2 mystery movies that we saw at the State Theater. Yeah. One of them we just saw this past week. Shout out to the OG Scream Demon, Blake Ginnathan, invited us out to his birthday party at the Sioux Falls State Theater for a mystery movie. Gave us some hints. I figured it out. Sam, I told you what it was.
You told me. I was just like, oh, okay.
Yeah. It was Dario Argento's Tenebrae, the Giallo classic. I love this movie so much, and it was just amazing to see it on the big screen. It's incredible that score is just thumping throughout the entire movie, but throughout the entire theater, just dun, 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 like just incredible, like this like 70s, early 80s disco Italian score. It's incredible. It's a great like murder mystery too, because it's always keeping you on your toes. I think it's one of the best uses of blood in any movie. Like, not just like the spraying of blood on the wall,
but just like, in general. Yeah.
In general, it's incredible. Love Tenebrae. I think it's my favorite Argento movie.
So that's, I think mine is still Suspiria, but to be fair, those are my only 2 Argento movies. Still a bit of a blind spot for me. But I loved this one. I thought it was great. I wish that the lesbian couple that gets killed like midway through it, they were like my Vicky and Dave from Halloween 2018, where I was like, oh no, I could have watched just like a whole movie with them. Like, why are they not the main characters? I was sad when they died. But no, I really love this. Blake did like a whole pre-show thing too, where he had music and a countdown going, and a tribute to Argento and a couple of like classic Argento trailers, which was really neat. Really just a good night. We got to see a lot of our late night regulars there too. So I don't know. It was really fun.
Speaking of late night, we also played a mystery movie at the State Theater.
We did.
As part of our late night October series that we've been doing. The mystery movie, Sam, what was that mystery movie?
Well, that mystery movie was the Citizen Kane of Swedish Evil Dead ripoffs. Evil Ed.
Evil Ed.
Evil Ed. Neither of us had seen this.
Yep.
Both of us had heard of it.
Yeah. Like I said, it was sitting literally in my to-be watch list for like 2 years now.
Yeah. So, you know, it's one that's been on the radar. It was the mystery movie at the State Theater last weekend.
Say most of the crowd had never heard of this movie. I don't think people knew what to expect.
Yeah.
With this, I think we did have a couple of people walk out.
Yep, we did.
But
the response to this movie was divisive, to say the least.
I think people had fun with it. I think if you kind of like, for me, like if I was going into a mystery movie, I'm expecting something a little off kilter, off the wall. Like, there's a reason they didn't advertise this movie.
Yeah,
like that's what I would be expecting. And I think going forward, if we get some say again in what is played for a mystery movie, like that's the vibe I want to keep, because I think it's the most fun you can have with a mystery movie. You're like, what is this? I've never heard of it. I've never seen this.
Yeah. See, I kind of love that. I think it's a mystery movie to me is something that like you wouldn't have bought a ticket to had they just played it. Like I honestly like, no, I would have heard Swedish Evil Dead ripoff and I would have had a ticket to this.
Yeah, I would have gone to eat that stuff. But we're the weirdos. We're the
weirdos. Like, you know, like in order to sell in order to sell this thing out, you market it as a mystery movie. Like, what crazy thing are we going to play? And frankly, I'm baffled that more people didn't rate this 5 stars like I did.
Like Sam, like any logical person like Sam would rate this 5 stars. Yeah.
This is 5 stars of fun. I loved Evil Ed. This might be my favorite movie that we've gotten to host so far. It was so good. I bought the Blu-ray the next day. Like, I was like, I have to own this. I have to have a physical copy of this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I had a blast with this movie. I give it like 3.5 stars. Like, I think it's a really fun late night movie. It's almost like 3 different movies in one. It's very, very strange. Like, there's like a creature in the fridge at one point, and like it becomes like a family drama like halfway through, and I don't know. It's a very, very weird Evil Dead rip, and I don't know. It's a ton of fun though. It's that perfect, like, you're with a bunch of friends, you're having a few beers, you're having some Turp Boys, and you're like, let's throw on Evil Ed, and you just laugh and have a blast with the movie.
It's so much fun. I think, I mean, my 5 stars might have been hyperbole, but like, also, I say it's divisive, but we had a really good response to it.
Yeah,
like, the crowd clearly loved it. Like, as a whole, there were a lot of laughs in that. There were a lot of smiles leaving the theater. There were a few glares.
Fair.
But hey, it's a mystery movie. You never know.
I made a joke during our intro. If people loved it, we picked it. If they didn't, we didn't.
Yeah.
So that's kind of half true as well. So, I mean, it was a lot of fun. We did some trivia still beforehand, and all the trivia was about Evil Eds and movies. So I don't know if anyone caught on to that. Probably not, because most people hadn't heard of this movie. So
here was me like going like, how do we word these questions so no one guesses Evil Ed? And most people like walked out of that going, I'd never even heard of that. And I'm like, we probably could have said Evil Ed in every single question, and people wouldn't have known
and
what
still
they were about to
figure
watch.
It out. Yeah, ton of fun. And then we had a ton of fun. This is the next night, right?
Yeah, the very next night.
The State Theater threw in a theater double feature, 2 movies that take place in a theater with Demons, which is a favorite of mine. Love this movie so much. And Popcorn from the early 90s. Great double feature idea of 2 movies taking place in theaters, all about the movies. And yeah, Demons, seeing that on the big screen, like, for me, that's a 5-star movie. I love Demons so much. It's so good. The soundtrack's incredible. Some of the best demon makeup effects of all time. Like, they're legitimately scary and goopy and crazy and out there. And the third act is bonkers. Like, the dude rides a motorcycle through a theater with a samurai sword, like chopping down demons, and then like a helicopter falls through the ceiling of the theater. Like, what is this movie? It's incredible. I love Demons.
Yeah. Demons. Everything you said. I mean, it was incredible. Like, watching it in a theater too, it was genuinely kind of scary. Like,
especially in the beginning, where it's like a little unnerving, where it's cutting back between the movie they're watching and people watching the movie. It's a little unnerving. Yeah.
And when they're all trapped and the panic starts to set in, you're like, I was like, oh God, like, I hope I can make it to an exit if some shit starts getting, like, it was like legit getting in my head.
I hope no one stands up with like glowing yellow eyes in our theater.
Right. It's like, what am I going to do if this happens to me right now?
Where's the dirt bike? There's no samurai sword in the State Theater. What are we doing? Zero protection.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Demons was a blast. Yeah. And I love that movie. It's so good.
And then Popcorn, again, a movie that's been on that watch list forever. And again, a movie that probably wouldn't sell very well if it was by itself. Like, I think most people probably had never heard of Popcorn, or if they did, it was like, like whatever, early 90s slasher movie. But
people really loved it too.
Yeah, sold very well with Demons. And like, I was vibing with this movie. I didn't know what to expect going in, and I had an absolute blast. And it feels like this movie feels way ahead of its time.
Oh, yeah.
So like Popcorn, if people have never heard of this movie, highly recommend. I think it's on some streaming services right now.
It was on Shudder. I
Yeah.
do believe Joe Bob played it for one of his Halloween specials.
Oh, yeah.
Because I watched the first half of this. I've watched the first half of this movie a couple of times, actually. Like everything for the first like 40 minutes, I was like, yeah, I've seen this. And then everything in the back half, I was like, what is going on?
Yeah. So like the setup is like this film school of like 7 students are like, hey, this is our last gasp of like trying to make some money for our program, and this theater in town is closing. We're going to throw like an all-night movie marathon, and they do like full William Castle style of like gimmicking the seats and having like a giant mosquito fly in over the crowd, and people are dressed up. Smell-o-vision and 3D glasses, and some dude has another head on his, like a paper mache head on his, like that guy.
Everybody's dressed up in costume. Yeah.
Oh, it's incredible. Like it looks like the most fun you could ever have at the movies. And that, I mean, it was one of the most fun I've ever had at the movies watching Popcorn. It's so much fun. It's very meta as well. Very meta on slashers and horror movies in general. And I mean, this was I think it came out in 91.
Yeah,
and
that sounds right.
So it's 5 years before Scream. That's insane. It's what?
Yeah.
3 years before New Nightmare.
Yeah. It's very much ahead of its
time.
Yeah, I like this one more than I love it. I think for me, like the third act goes, it's good, but like it kind of loses me a little bit. Like the killer's a little strange. But you being a Phantom of the Opera fan, I totally get why you vibe with this movie in particular, because it's very Phantom at times.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has a like if any other Disney Channel kids are out there who love Phantom of the Auditorium.
Yeah.
If you want to see like the next level up, like I feel like there's levels to Phantom of the Opera stuff. You got to watch Phantom of the Auditorium, that's a Goosebumps book. Read that. Then Phantom of the Megaplex, that's the Disney Channel.
Yeah,
movie.
that's the yeah.
And then you watch Popcorn.
And then you watch Phantom of the Mall, Eric's Revenge.
Then you watch and then you watch a version of Phantom of the Opera. And then you end with Phantom of the Paradise.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's my
Phantom of the Paradise is
you got to build up to that one.
Yep.
Yeah, that's my like 6 Phantom movie marathon.
Yeah, there you go. God, that would be a fun marathon to actually pull off someday.
Yep.
That would be a really fun marathon to pull off someday.
Yeah, so I mean, we've had a blast these last couple weeks, and
yeah.
Thanks
to the State Theater for like having us and programming this stuff, and yeah.
Yep. But Sam, as we're wrapping the show up, we ain't done yet. We're not done. We got one more late night in October to go, and if you are listening to this on Friday, October 25th, we have one more late night tonight at the Sioux Falls State Theater. Bring out your Halloween mask. Bring out those pumpkin masks, your witch mask, your skeleton mask, because we are showing Halloween 3 Season of the Witch tonight at the Sioux Falls State Theater, 10 p.m. Get your tickets. It's going to be a fun time. We're going to have some awesome trivia. I'm just throwing this out there as an idea. We haven't even talked about it yet. But I want people to show up with Tom Atkins mustaches.
Yeah, show up with Tom Atkins mustache.
So if you show up tonight at the State Theater, you have to have listened to this episode today and then showed up to the State Theater tonight. If you wear a Tom Atkins mustache, we will give you a special prize.
Yeah. It might honestly...
I'll bring some stuff with. We'll have cool stuff that isn't always at our table. But like you'll get a special prize if you show up in a Tom Atkins mustache and stop at our table.
Yeah.
Before or after the movie, I don't care. Like either one, but stop at our table. We'll have a special prize for you with a Tom Atkins mustache.
Yep.
Or just shave. Just shave and have a mustache. Like I don't care. Buy one from Spirit Halloween on your way there. Like
it has to be fake so that I don't feel bad about myself.
We need to make sure your mustache works, Sam.
I was about to say I might have to get a new one because I think I got a dud from Spirit.
Hey, we got to go to Spirit that night anyway, so we'll get you a new mustache.
Yeah, we'll get a new. I'll buy a new mustache.
Yeah.
Because I can't grow one myself.
Yep. Hey, speaking of Halloween, Sam, there's one more thing I need to throw out here before we get to our plugs.
Well, don't give it away too early.
Aha! Speaking of giving away things, we have a Halloween giveaway going on right now on our social media channels over on Facebook and on Instagram. You can go back, and I'll share this again over the weekend to get a few more people to enter this, but we have quite a few people entered on our Halloween giveaway. And what you're going to get with that Halloween giveaway, it's very simple. Just like us on social media, Facebook and Instagram. Like that post and comment your favorite Halloween movie in the Halloween series. That's all you got to do. Very easy stuff. I mean, there's only 2 answers that people have been given.
No, Tad.
Well, he's
Shout
alive.
It out, Halloween ends.
Well,
you know what, Tad? I saw
disqualified.
Casey's response to you, and you're not disqualified. That is a valid answer, and I appreciate it.
I am future uninviting Tad to ever appear on the show.
I am future inviting Tad to come on and talk about Halloween Ends with me.
Just you and
Boom.
Tad.
Just me and Tad. I'm going to replace you for an episode just so I can talk about Halloween Ends.
That's fine. Then I never have to watch that terrible movie ever again.
A terrible movie.
But our Halloween giveaway, the prizes that you're going to get a Spirit Halloween collector's box from Halloween 2 that has some lanyards and stickers and buttons in that. You're going to get a Michael Myers t-shirt. You're also going to get a Halloween comic book, which is a great kind of spin-off from the Halloween series. It's a fun story. And you're going to get, I think
the thing I'm jealous of.
Yeah, the big prize, the one that Sam would want to enter to win himself.
I considered it.
Yes. You should just throw in Halloween Ends, Halloween Kills, Evil Dies Tonight.
Not Halloween Kills. I'm not gonna go that hard to bat for that one.
The prize is a signed photo from PJ Souls from Halloween, the original Halloween. A signed photo from it's her and Carrie, but she's in Halloween, so there's the connection there. So you get totally. You're gonna get that total surprise package giveaway. If you enter our contest. And again, that's through October 30th. So you have until October 29th to enter. We will draw a winner on the 30th.
Yeah.
All right, Sam. I'm done talking for a little while. I'll let you throw in some of those plugs.
Okay. Right now there's a TeePublic sale going on. You can get a bunch of percents off of our stuff. 35% off of our stuff. For some reason, I wanted to say 13. I'm like, that's not right. 35% off. That's insane. Those are great prices. You should check that out. You can get our exclusive Halloween design that we are going to shutter forever on October.
You get locked in the basement forever.
Like once Halloween passes, no one gets that ever again. Not even us. And I haven't ordered yet. So, yeah. So TeePublic sale, go check us out. We are announcing this. I guess I should have recognized that we were announcing this. We're launching a Patreon at the end of the month too. Yeah, October 31st, you're gonna get more Basement Boys. If you wanna. We're launching a Patreon. There's gonna be a bonus episode every month with written reviews from me, video content from both of us, going through our cool collections that you can kind of see some in the background. Yeah. And you're just going to get to know us a little bit more. You're going to get a signed 8x10 from us with original artwork, presumably by me. So apologies for the quality.
Hey, if they love our merch, they're going to love this.
Yeah. If you love our merch, you're going to love this. It's going to be cool. So yeah. Just be on the lookout for that. We'll be launching that October 31st. Keep your eyes peeled, and yeah, you can get more Basement Boys, baby.
You are on Halloween. Yeah, that's the
on
big
Halloween.
Drop on Halloween.
Yeah. They're like, but isn't everybody going to be done with horror in November? No, because it's spooky year round, all the time.
Yeah. Who watches Thanksgiving movies?
Yeah. Unless people are getting killed in them.
We watch Eli Roth Thanksgiving or Thanksgiving. sir
Yes.
or ma'am.
Yes.
That's what we watch. So be on the
Or
lookout
Blood
for
Rage.
or Blood Rage, and that's not cranberry sauce. Be on the lookout for our Patreon. We'll have more info on that in our next episode because we will have launched by then.
Yeah.
So you can get the actual links and stuff for that. So again, launches October 31st. Be on the lookout on our socials for that. Sam, did you say the socials? Otherwise, I can throw those out here quick.
I have not said the socials yet.
So you can follow us on TikTok. You can see some video content there. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram on the Meta channels. If you want to follow us on X, we can. I don't know. I might take that one off pretty soon because that's a shit.
It's getting pretty bad. When the block function no longer serves as an actual function, I think I'm jumping ship on that hell site.
Yeah. So if anyone has any other like similar apps that they use to Twitter, maybe if you use Threads or what's the other one?
We should check out Blue Sky. We should look into Blue Sky.
Okay, maybe we'll jump off the X train and head over to Blue Sky.
Friends and followers on Blue Sky. Let us know if that's worth exploring, and also like follow us if we pop up on there.
Yeah, let us know what else you guys are using, or if you're like, hey, Instagram and Facebook's good enough for me. That works too.
That's fine. Yeah.
All right. Well, Sam, is that it?
Yeah,
I
think that's it. Everybody, this was our spooky Halloween episode. We hope you enjoyed it.
Yes.
Some unorthodox Halloween movies. Not unorthodox, just different.
Different. Well, we hope you all have an amazing, spooktacular Halloween. It's the best time of year. We all love it, no matter how you celebrate. If you're going to a Halloween costume party, if you're going trick-or-treating with yourself or your kids.
Babysitting some dipshit kids, you know.
If you're babysitting some kids and some serial killer in a William Shatner mask pops up, or if you're staying at home and watching some serial killer in a Michael Myers mask, like, just have fun. Have fun.
Yeah.
Remember, this is what we wait kind of all year for. This is our Christmas. So just have a blast this Halloween, and we will see you next time right here in the basement. Sam, give us that sign off.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and sweet screams.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal: providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.